Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at the Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the True Story FM Entertainment Podcast Network.
And I'm 67% Pete Wright.
Or are you 73?
False match.
Cross-check. Today we're talking about minute 38, which begins with near mint and ends with a thwip. Back on the show, it's Jay Shepard. Hello, Jay.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, so many locations to talk about today.
Oh,
this
my
is
God.
great.
They're all locations.
I can't wait. First up, though, we're back on the bridge of the helicarrier, wrapping up the conversation between Agent Coulson, kind of wrapping it up because they get interrupted very quickly, but near mint, slight foxing around the edges. What I love about this is it really shows that he is a collector, and he's using words like, near mint is obviously a fairly easy one, but foxing, I was like, what is foxing? And I had to look that up. Did either of you know what foxing was?
I do.
Okay.
I have.
Okay, Jay.
I have big book collection, so I want to avoid that. Right. It's just a deterioration of the pages around the
Probably
edges.
have a big stash of sodium borohydride around the house, do you, Jay? Huh?
Of course.
Do you?
Of course. Doesn't everybody?
Do you know why it's called foxing? I thought this was interesting.
I am not certain.
It's actually because of the fox-like reddish-brown color of the stains.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes it's kind of the ferric oxide, which gets into the paper, which kind of gives it that rusty look. So
That is fascinating.
That's cool. Well, that's the name of my big swing band, foxing around the edges.
That needs to exist for real. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. So anyway, they're interrupted because Sitwell has a hit. Pete, you were very excited about this yesterday. Did you want to?
Sitwell has a hit. Yeah. No, Sitwell's very excited about his big moment here because he has a hit. It's not a good hit, but then it becomes a much better hit at 67% match. Wait, cross match, 79%. 79%. Right. So we have 79% of Loki in Stuttgart, which isn't Stuttgart.
It isn't, but before we get to that, I just want to say it becomes 100%. Did you notice as they kind of continue?
As they're talking about it?
Yeah.
It continues to resolve.
As it turns from the blurry pixels into the sharper image as we transition.
Yeah, we definitely have some fantasy computing going on right now with the whole matching, false matching. You know, this is very much a Kit, zoom in on that sector and resolve kind of.
Exactly.
Thing, yeah.
Like playing with the satellite, the faux satellite imagery, which, hey, it looks better than the satellite imagery of Natasha and Clint when they were in the Ivory Coast.
That's true.
But yes, there was a hit on the face match. And okay, what's funny about this particular moment here as they find the hit is Sitwell says, the hit's in Stuttgart, Germany, 28 Königstrasse. And then there's a line that sounds like it's Sitwell, but it also sounds like it was an ADR line that they recorded later because it totally doesn't match the tone of the rest of what he's saying when he says he's not exactly hiding. Unless it's a different person who says that. But it sounds so strangely like a different tone that I'm just like, is that Sitwell? Did either of you catch that moment, or was it just one of those weird little things that stands out to me?
The slight tonal changes are getting lost on me as I get older, and my ears no longer have a 79% match.
Oh, we're sadly all getting there, Jay. We're all getting there. Well, I do think it's interesting, and this, I guess, ties into the nature of the plan that we had. So the plan was, this is my understanding based on what's going to be happening, is that Barton knew where this iridium was and knew who the scientist was who had it, and figured out that he needed an eye scan to kind of get into this particular facility of his. And then in the deleted scene, or the extended scene that we talked about last time, he decided, because Loki was feeling, a little housebound, basically.
Schlubby.
That, hey, if you'd like to get out for a little bit, we can work something out so you can actually come out and have some fun. That's kind of how I read the plan, because I guess Loki obviously is quite involved and perhaps makes it easier because of what he's going to do. But I don't know. The whole thing does seem a little strange to me that Loki, at this point in the story, I guess, for Loki to just be, as he says, he's not really hiding. How does it strike the two of you? Does it seem like, yeah, why is Loki, why is this part of their plan instead of doing it more covertly?
Well, I don't think Loki does anything really covertly at any point. I mean, that's part of his act, as we find out.
Have you seen his headwear?
Well, that's true.
Also, going back to what I was talking about yesterday when we were discussing just the Mind Stone control over them, I always thought that for whatever the characters, quote unquote, came up with on their own, that somehow Loki was like controlling this, like there was some sort of implied ownership from him into the actions of the other characters via the Mind Stone. I mean, I don't know that any of that's really depicted, but that's just kind of how I've always thought about it, I guess.
Like Loki is making these calls.
Yeah, Loki's making the calls, but Barton says that he wants Loki to do this, and it's like, oh, that's great, but it's probably Loki going, okay, now ask me to do this, right? So
that's on brand for Loki too, right? I mean, that's been on brand since Thor. I'm going to write a play about me. You're going to say the things that I write, and
right. And it's not as much like headcanon as like it just is right for the character. It's not me just trying to make up something that I believe for this. So.
I think, to me, it's always that may be true, but it's option number one for me. It's that Loki doesn't care because he is the presumptive ruler of all Midgard, right? Like that's just who he is. So
what are they going to do to him? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Now, here's another question. How do they get here?
Right.
Any thoughts on that? I'm assuming it's all those enemies that S.H.I.E.L.D. has that they're working with. They must have.
Well, because don't they?
They
have a quinjet, right? They have a quinjet when they fly up to the helicarrier later.
They parked it in back.
Isn't it parked on the other side of the building?
Yeah, just in the. They gave it to the valet.
You disagree? It's a valet, right?
I find it very interesting. So sure, if there's a whole contingent of S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe they're working with S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra agents. I don't know, but anyways, if they have a quinjet, then obviously these people who don't like S.H.I.E.L.D. are also S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Or unless Barton is the one who specifically went and took a quinjet. I don't know, but somehow there's a lot of stuff that they're doing and getting around in ways that I do find it stretches things a little bit for me sometimes when it's like,
I mean, if it's really Stuttgart, but really it's just a couple blocks from their lab.
Right.
So.
All right. From the other.
I hate to burst your bubble.
I know. Well, just in terms of the distance, though, I was curious about this because as Fury says, Cap is up. It's his turn to go over there. Mm-hmm. We don't know where the helicarrier is. Let's just say, though, it's still off the coast of New York somewhere, right? A quinjet, according to Marvel lore, can fly up to the speed of sound about Mach 2.1, which is about a little more than like almost 2,600 kilometers per hour, or just over 1,550 miles per hour. If they were off the U.S. coast, that's about 3,900 miles or 6,300 kilometers to Stuttgart, which is about a 2.5-hour flight for Steve if they fly at top speed. I guess that can be done. I guess that can happen. But it does seem like Loki is not hanging around there for 2.5 hours waiting for this whole thing to start.
Right. Once they would get the hit in order to, we got to get there in 2.5 hours, before that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they move at the speed of plot as needed.
Well, that's exactly what it is. All of their vehicles, all of the bad guys, everyone is moving at the speed of plot to get to where they need to be.
So the helicarrier actually took a course vertically as the Earth rotated underneath it. And when they came back down momentarily, it had already rotated underneath them.
Right.
Hopefully it was going the right direction, unless Superman was flying backwards around the world at that point as well, in which case that would have been problematic.
So many things to take into account.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it plays fine. It plays fine. It does. It is just one of these things. We got to get the story moving, and so this is what they're doing. And so,
and it's day on the helicarrier, and it's night, later.
Yeah, which would make sense because if it's 5 o'clock here, it's going to be what, like 11 o'clock over
10,
there.
11 o'clock.
So
like that.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense. So I buy that. But yeah, everyone is getting around very quickly, and that is one of those things. But anyway, let's stop talking about this. Let's talk about Stuttgart, our real location. First, the exterior. We're meant to assume this is 28 Königstrasse, which sure doesn't look like this. I don't know what they were actually intending it to be, but where did they really film this, Jay?
Again, Cleveland.
Wow.
This is part of Public Square in Cleveland, and the building that that we see here with the spotlights and the cars pulling up in front of it in the wide shot is actually called the Tower City Center, which it actually says underneath the clock. So you can see the clock on the exterior of the building, and in the architecture, like hammered or chiseled out, it actually says Tower City Center. So obviously they did some CGI work to cover that up, because that would be kind of silly for Germans to have a bunch of weird English words.
Right. And yeah, I mean, but it looks nice. Like when I see this, I don't immediately go, wow, that really looks like Cleveland. They picked a good location.
I think it is a really good location, and they did kind of the thing that you see a lot of film crews do when they want to get kind of the glamour shot, right? It's all wet down and kind of slick and
wet streets.
We've been talking about that since Iron Man.
Yeah, and it's crisp and clear. And then we cut inside, which you would think they're in Cleveland, right? We're just going to go inside the building to film it. No, they went entirely someplace else for that. Well, it's still in Cleveland, but they went to the Cuyahoga County Courthouse, which may or may not actually have that giant ox, cow.
The table, like the two-headed, like the weird table thing that they have in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very Grecian feeling, or potentially Norse, I guess. I don't know.
Right. I'm not exactly sure what direction they were going with it, but yeah, I looked at actual pictures of this courthouse. They don't have, from what I could tell, they don't have it here. It looks like people rent this place out as like for weddings and all sorts of events and stuff.
God, it's a beautiful building.
It really is. And
what is Cuyahoga County doing with a building as beautiful as this? I mean, no disrespect, Cuyahoga County residents.
Listen to you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's because they're not spending it on their sports teams.
Ow. Oh.
Yeah. Wow. We're just, we're making all sorts of friends in this episode.
Yes, all sorts of friends.
Well, the location's great, and we're definitely going to talk more about it over the next couple episodes, because there's some fantastic art and stuff in here that is really interesting to see. It looks like something that, it's like I don't think Cleveland when I see this, and so I think they did a good job of finding something that does feel a little different when they were filming here. Yeah,
and I don't know that you would figure out what this was if you didn't know, right? So
exactly, unless you're a resident of Cleveland, obviously then you're going to be able to go, oh, I totally know what that is. But for the rest of us, it's like I have no clue at all. Now, I have a question for the two of you. Do either of you have any sense as to what sort of event this is supposed to be?
No.
Like, what are they pretending this is?
That was my big question. Is it like an art auction, or they're all waiting to go into an opera performance? There's always an opera of some sort going on in Cuyahoga County.
In Stuttgart.
Stuttgart. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, an opera sounds like it might have been something that would have been on my mind, or potentially even, it's it's a fundraiser, right? Because they do have the external quartet or however many piece,
it's a string quartet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and somebody's speaking, and I don't think if it was an opera, I don't think they'd have somebody in the lobby stepping up to a microphone to kind of talk to the audience,
Yeah.
So I guess
some sort of political event, maybe a fundraiser. I think I'm in with fundraiser. Yeah.
Yeah, I think fundraiser sort of event. A lot of black tie, a lot of fancy dressed people here with the quartet and everything. I mean, it looks really nice. What was interesting is they have these banners on the side of the building and inside that they translate to they say Eroberung und Opferung, which translates to conquest and sacrifice. And it has dates on it, May 4th through October 21st, which makes me think that at least the production designer's intention is for this to feel like an art museum.
Yeah, maybe it's an opening of a new wing or
or the exhibit or something.
Some benefactor.
Well,
event.
It does start May 4th, and today is May 3rd, so that would make sense if this is a big event, kind of the opening of the official opening of this particular exhibit that they're going to be doing here.
Okay.
So, yeah. There, we just figured it out, because I believe today, according to the wiki, is May 3rd when all of this is actually happening.
So the second of Fury's big week, I guess.
That was last year. His big week happened, or a couple years before.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
It was during Thor.
It was because it was the prequel to the Avengers, I guess.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, all right. Anyway, the string quartet is playing. It's the Takacs Quartet. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. It's got one of those funky accents. They've been around since 1975. They formed in Budapest, and it is always.
I remember Budapest.
I wonder if they do, though. I wonder if they remember the Takacs Quartet performing when they were in Budapest. They've been around since 75. I think that the same four people performed in it until 1993 when they had the first person step down. And then the people that are playing now, I think two of them are still playing. Because I think one of them that is still playing today is one of the original people who started with it. And
so kind of like the Wiggles, I guess, right?
Kind of like the Wiggles. I'm sure they would love being compared to the Wiggles.
The Wiggles.
But they are playing String Quartet number 13 in minor, Rosamund by Franz Schubert. That is the music we're hearing. Now, something interesting happens here, and I just wanted to get a sense from both of you as to how this plays for you. We're going to talk a lot about this over the next couple of minutes because we have diegetic music. They are playing it here in this location, and over the course of the next few minutes, this music is actually going to shift to become non-diegetic as we go through this montage, cutting between three locations. And I find that to be kind of an interesting way to use the music. How does it play for you? Do you like the way that this music, this string quartet, kind of becomes the foundation for this montage?
I think that's a pretty cool way to do it. And I would argue that it's actually only non-diegetic in one of those three locations because, of course, Clint is connected by radio, by earpiece to Loki. Well, presumably to Loki. So
presumably, sure. But at the same time, I think that you could argue the music becomes non-diegetic because even though, I guess, I don't know, we're going to have to watch over the next couple minutes. Does the string quartet stop once our scientist starts talking? Or do they just kind of keep playing over the whole thing?
So they learned from the folks at the Titanic.
Kept
just got to keep playing. Got to keep playing. Okay, so we're inside, we see all this stuff happening. We see our scientist. This is where our scientist steps up to the microphone. IMDb game for Dieter Riesel. He is our scientist. The two of you, dare I ask, are you fans of the work of Dieter Riesel? Should I see if you have any sense as to what movies would be his IMDb top 4 known fors?
Let's see, Das Boot.
Jay's a real Dieter Riesling. And
was he in The Hunt for Red October as well?
Is he standing next to Tupolev?
He's not Russian, you guys.
He wasn't the cook?
Stuttgart. I don't know.
Neither was the captain, by the way.
He's actually only been acting since 2002. So,
okay. So it wouldn't have been. All right.
No, would not have been. He's German, but he did immigrate to the U.S. And so a lot of the stuff that he's actually been in, he plays a German, but he still is living here, it sounds like. But I'll tell you his top 4 known for is The Good Shepherd. He was in that. That's his number 1, where he played Herr Frank. Then this, The Avengers. Number 3, he was in a film called Ava, the one with Jessica Chastain. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, Someday This Pain Will Be Useful to You. Something I'm completely not familiar with. But I've heard of the other 3.
Wow.
But that last one does sound like a good mantra.
Yeah.
Someday. This pain will... That's right. 79%. 79%. Let's remember. Okay, so Jay.
Yes.
So our scientist starts talking, or starts tapping the microphone and getting set up to kind of have his little thing here. And we're going to have 2 more locations here. I don't think Steve's Ready Room is anything that we need to talk about with you as far as locations.
It does not rate. No, of course.
We'll talk about that here in a moment. But first, I do want to just get a sense from you of this last location that we have here in this montage. This is, as it's scripted, exterior guarded building. As we see it in the film, we do see that it says Schaefer, and this is the German that I'm going to struggle to say, Schaefer Sicherheitsdienst.
That's great. Of course, it's Schaefer Security Services is what it translates to.
Right.
This was a troublesome location to track down. A lot of people knew they were filming in Cleveland, and so there were a lot of, other sites that had this kind of information up. And I wanted to be a little more complete. I wasn't just trying to parrot what a lot of other people had done. So I came looking for this, and I'm like, it looks high tech, right? It looks like it could be something. And we just had Barton in a Cleveland location. They would presumably continue filming with him here. And I could never find anything. And I kind of went on doing other movies, and I came back to this one, and just sort of a thing tickled in my head where it's like, when you can't figure out where something is, figure out where they shot on sound stages, and then look outside. Because when they have to go do a quick pickup, like, you just go out to the field out front, right, to do your pickup. Mm-hmm. Yep, this is the University of New Mexico's film campus, part of their interdisciplinary film and digital media, specifically the Aperture Center building, literally across the street from the Albuquerque studios where they were shooting at.
Of course it is.
Wow.
And it looks exactly like it does in the movie. Like, it's right on a street, and like you can see the soundstage like 100 yards away or something like that. So basically this is what they were looking at every day, and they probably were just like, yeah, that's a security service building, we could shoot there.
That's awesome.
That's perfect. So perfect.
Utility shooting.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to do what works, and they found a location that works well for this particular thing. So kudos to them. I love this look. Our minute ends with the guard hearing a sound. Oh, wait, before we do that, let's talk about Steve's Ready Room. What do you 2 think of this? We finally get a look at his costume that he's going to be wearing for this film. Thoughts on all of this?
Brief, but very dramatic. And I do love the way the music holds up as it doubles as the costume reveal dramatic music. I like it.
Right. Or a string quartet, yeah.
Yeah, it's very displayed in, the location there, which when you see it in the movie, right, in the heat of watching the movie, it's like, wow, yeah, that looks really great. But, you start to wonder, why would you keep it that way? In the same way that when you watch like Arrow on the CW, they always take their costumes off and then they're on the mannequins. And it's like, that seems like it would just be a pain in the butt to try to get that stuff, set up that way.
Well, Coulson probably had some say in this. What if we design it like this?
Don't let him see it yet. I got to set this up.
I got to get the light just right. It looks very designed, but it is cool. It is a nice reveal, and we got that classical music playing. Steve sees it for the first time. No reaction from him, or is there a reaction? Going back to what was our Russian? Now I'm forgetting again. Kolachov? No, that was somebody that Natasha was fighting, wasn't it?
That's right. That was the first old man who was
Right.
also the Polish director.
Right, exactly. Yep. Anyway, it's a great outfit. It is interesting. Like, it looks like, I don't know what's on the side of it. I guess it's all a bunch of weaponry that he has in this room. It's designed for not just him, but for everybody. But he does have his, he does have his special locker right there at the end with his name painted on it and everything.
It's Rogers right there.
So, all right. Well, we get to the end of the minute, and our guard gets, he hears something. He turns to look, and that's where the minute ends. Any last points about minute 38, or should we wrap up today?
I'm good.
I think this is a really believable sequence. Like you said, I had no reason not to believe that this, wasn't Stuttgart, because of course that's kind of what I look at now when I see things, and especially with all the repeat locations that we end up seeing in Atlanta on the more recent MCU films and TV shows and stuff like that. It's nice to see a bunch of places that are still relatively fresh within the filming wise within the universe. What was the last film that they used that they shot in Cleveland? I think it was Winter Soldier. Oh, okay. So only a few years. Because Ant-Man was the first one they started filming in Atlanta, even though they also did some San Francisco shooting there. Interesting. Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to kind of see how they use different parts of Cleveland over the next few films, and just see what plays, and if it feels Cleveland, or if they're again succeeding in making it feel very different like they did here. So, all right. Well, Jay, tell everybody again about what you're up to and where you're out there on the internet. Well, MCULocationScout.com. You can take a look at where these locations are that we just talked about, and anything else from the Avengers or any of the other MCU films that have come out in the last decade plus. You can also find all sorts of podcasts and written work from me at retrozap.com, including Superhero Suite, where I talk about superhero films with my partner Josh. And you can also read some MCU Location Scout articles that I've written that are separate from the website, that are also at retrozap.com. Fantastic. We'll have those links in the show notes. Everybody check them out. I tell you, those maps that you put together, those Google Maps, are really fun to poke around in. So thanks. It's quite a lot of work that you've put into it, and it shows. It just is amazing. So I have so much fun looking through that. So check that out, everybody. For sure. It is really, truly a rabbit hole. Check it out, everybody. It's a lot of fun. And Jay, thank you again so much for talking with us today. Thank you. And Pete, thanks as always.
Well, and just one more plug. Make sure you check out Jay's band, Foxing Around the Edges, on Spotify and Apple Music, wherever you get your big band hits.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.